Miss and Margella, AP Canary Yellow. She deserve a patty cause she one of the members.
Nowadays, we as producers tend to overproduce. So I was watching this Vsauce video the other day and it was completely unrelated. And in the video he mentioned how things which are more ambiguous and they don't show much, and this leads to things feeling creepy, just the lack of information. So I thought to myself, well, how can I apply this to music? Everybody wants to make dark beats, creepy beats, all that stuff. And I just came up with the idea to make this beat which is very ambient, but also very minimalistic. Just try and make a beat with just 5 sounds and see how it turns out. So yeah, in today's video, I'm gonna be breaking down this beat. I mean, you already heard it, so without too much talk, let's just get into the video. 4 sounds for the melody and the 5th sound, which is basically just the drums. Now, of course, it's not 5 layers because obviously we can't make the drums only be a clap or an 808, but you get the point. So starting off, sound selection is also very important whenever you're trying to set the vibe of the whole beat. I start with a pad, which is a very simple sound and it's very ambiguous, you can call it that. And for that I'm using Diva, and I'm using the Deep Space Diva preset, which is like the first preset, and I lay down this pattern. Super simple pattern. Basically it's just a minor chord, a C sharp minor chord. I'm just playing around with the middle notes, so I'm just making it a suspended 2 chord, a suspended 4 chord, just basically creating more tension. And what I did next was I just took the middle notes and I pitched them up an octave just to space it out a little bit more. And again, we're keeping it simple on the effects side as well. So we have this parametric EQ, which is just taking out this whoa and space. Now for the second sound, I'm using Omnisphere and I'm using this ambient space piano preset because I wanted something which is again very ambient and spaced out. And all I have here is just 3 simple notes which just play every single bar. And basically those are the notes which make up the chords. Like you can just see it's 3 simple notes, but it's already just giving this dark creepy vibe. And whenever I think about it, I always think of this quote, which is basically music is in the silence, not in the notes. And since we're leaving a lot of space here and we're not saying too much, it's really adding to this whole creepy eerie vibe. I felt like the piano didn't have enough reverb and it wasn't as ambient as I wanted to be, so I added this Valhalla vintage reverb, and here I have the mix set up all the way to 84%. And then I have this EQ, which again is just cutting out the low end and some of the high end, since we're gonna be adding a lead later on, so we just want that space free. 3rd sound, as I said, we have a lead and I'm using Omnisphere once again. Whenever you're working with synth sounds, you just want to stick to using synth sounds. Whenever you're using live instruments, you just want to keep using live instruments. Every single group goes well together, and it's a little bit harder to just mix the two. It takes a little bit more skill. So if you're new to sound selection, if you want to work on sound selection, just stick with one of these groups, become very good at it, and then you can start mixing. Again, we're putting emphasis on these half-step intervals because they make the melody a lot more tense and a lot more dark. It's basically just the middle notes of the chords. As far as effects go on the lead, I tapered off the high end a little bit. Then again, I'm making the layer a bit more ambient, so I'm adding Valhalla vintage reverb. I added this pancake, which is just basically moving it from one ear to the other. Moving on to the final layer of the melody, I added a low end bass. I don't even gotta say it, but you know the deal. I'm using Flex, BB flat 1H preset, and this is the bass line. It's very simple. I'm adding a fruity fast distortion because I'm gonna be using it as a sub bass later on, and finally an EQ, which is taking out the high end of the bass. So now with all the effects added, this is how the melody part sounds like. before we add the vocals and show you the final song, let's break down the drums. A simple 2-step hi-hat with a couple of rolls every single bar, a simple snare pattern, and at the final bar we have this counter snare, which is just adding a little bit more bounce, yet another snare which is also just adding a little bit more bounce. And for the kick we're going extremely simple, so just the basic doom 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 pattern, like that's all there is. So all the drums are from my free drum kits, you can find them in the description, and this is how they sound. And now let's hear the final song.
Diamonds and Margiela, AP Canary Yellow. She deserve a patty cause she one of the members, for sure. When it comes to Sadaba, money not a problem. Turned me to a killer, I just smashed the model. Yeah. If it come blue, her pussy good and pink. Pink Chicago in the winter time, I'm ordering minks. The mink selling out arenas, I just murked the streets. The street, copping a brand new castle